When the U.S. entered World War I, African Americans saw it as a double-edged sword, a chance to prove their loyalty and bravery, but also a reminder of the stark racial inequalities at home. Among the men who stepped forward were the Harlem Hellfighters, officially known as the 369th Infantry Regiment, a group that would make history, both for their extraordinary combat record and their fight against systemic racism. For many African Americans, the war seemed like an opportunity to challenge the status quo. Some believed their service would force white Americans to acknowledge their contributions and grant them greater equality. Others, however, recognized the bitter irony of fighting for freedom abroad while being denied it at home. Emmett J. Scott, Booker T., Washington's former secretary, was appointed special assistant to the Secretary of War to address African American concerns during the war, a symbolic gesture in a deeply segregated military. Although many African Americans were eager to fight in the war, they were often turned away from military service. When the United States realized that it did not have close to enough soldiers, it decided to pass the Selective Service Act of 1917, which required all men from the ages of 21 to 30 to register for the draft. This included African Americans. Still, enthusiasm for service grew. African Americans flooded recruitment offices. Many soldiers saw this as a God-sent blessing to prove their worth, though some were lured in with false promises of equality. The U.S. eventually created training camps for black officers, but segregation remained the order of the day. The Harlem Hellfighters trained at Camp Wadsworth in Spartanburg, South Carolina, a harsh initiation into military life. The camp simulated French battlefields, but the soldiers faced an even tougher battlefield in the surrounding community. Racism was in full swing. Local businesses refused to serve black soldiers, sparking tensions. One incident involved Lieutenant James Reese Europe and Noble Sissel, who were denied a simple newspaper at a hotel. White soldiers from New York stood up for their black comrades, threatening to boycott businesses that refused service. Their solidarity was remarkable, but it didn't erase the systemic prejudice the Hellfighters faced daily. Despite their courage and determination, the 369th Infantry Regiment was considered unfit to fight alongside white American units. So, in 1918, the U.S. Army reassigned them to the French Army, which, unlike their American counterparts, had a long history of working with colonial troops. The Hellfighters were issued French rifles, helmets, and gear but kept their U.S. uniforms. The French, who were desperate for reinforcements, welcomed them with far less racial discrimination than they faced back home. The Hellfighters proved their worth almost immediately. They were deployed to the front lines in April 1918 and stayed in continuous combat for 191 days, longer than any other American unit. They fought in major battles like the Second Battle of the Marne, and held their ground with incredible tenacity, never losing a trench or a soldier to capture. The Germans quickly learned to fear them, even spreading propaganda to demoralize them. One leaflet read, "Why fight for a country that oppresses you?" Instead of discouraging the Hellfighters, it only fueled their determination. The regiment returned home as heroes, or so they thought. They had earned France's Croix de Guerre and numerous Distinguished Service Crosses. One soldier, Henry Johnson, was awarded the Medal of Honor decades later for single-handedly fighting off a German raid. But their reception in the United States was bitterly disappointing. Racism hadn't disappeared. In fact, the years between World War I and World War II are often considered some of the worst in terms of racial violence and discrimination. The Harlem Hellfighters' story is one of bravery, tenacity, and resistance. They fought not just for victory in war, but for respect and equality in a society determined to deny them both. Their legacy paved the way for future generations of African Americans to continue challenging injustice. What do you think? Did their sacrifice move the needle on racial equality, or was the country too stuck in its ways to change? For more videos like this, like, comment, and subscribe.